to Finn vs. History. I'm here again with Horatio Gould.
Hello.
This is part 2 of our series on Chairman Mao.
We are now at the end of the Chinese Civil War with the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949.
1949.
So 1949. That's after the rape of Nanking.
Yes.
But it's before Robbie Williams left Take That. Oh, no,
Right.
after. No, before. Obviously before. Obviously.
Yeah. Mao was not aware.
Yeah. But they had in the works a monkey biopic for Mao.
Robbie Williams.
But then the Robbie Williams one came out and they thought, well, we can't have two, so they had to shelve it.
The decision for Robbie Williams to leave Take That was not part of Mao's Cultural Revolution.
No. I think he probably doesn't know about Take That, but definitely doesn't know who Robbie Williams is.
No, he's got no idea.
He'd probably be like, Gary Butler. I think I know Gary Butler.
Gary Butler.
But Robbie Williams, he wouldn't know. No. So that was after his time. So that sort of places it, that cushions it historically. But
Jason Orange is, I would prefer Jason Red.
I watched. Did you watch Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic?
No, I've watched the pop star documentary on BBC.
Yeah.
This is actually also confusing that we're doing Mao today because last night we started watching the Marilyn Manson documentary on Channel 4.
Right.
So I may get my facts quite confused.
Yeah.
So hang on. So in 1950, Chairman Mao gets a rib removed to suck his own dick. And this is called the Great Lurch Forward. Is that right?
The 5-year plan.
The 5-year plan to
him
suck himself off.
Do you know, apparently, someone told me, do you know the way to actually suck yourself? Have you ever tried to suck yourself off?
Oh, probably, yeah. Why are you saying that like I'm a nun? I probably have. I can't remember. I obviously didn't succeed.
Apparently, the technique, if you really wanted to.
Apparently.
I think a mate of mine tried it, and his mum walked in.
All right, mate.
His mum walked in while he was doing it. Right?
Wow.
And this is probably the worst thing your mum could walk in and you're doing. It's way worse than porn. Obviously, you're trying to set your own dick. Apparently, the technique, right, is you need to walk your cock into your mouth. You do. So what you do is against the wall, you have to swing your feet onto the wall.
Yeah.
Right. And then you use your hopefully have grippy shoes.
You've got you're wearing no trousers, but you're wearing like worker boots.
It would be custom shoes. It'd be shoes that with like suckers on them. You want to have a lot of grip.
So you've got shoes made to like yourself.
And then you.
Hey, Horatio, how's things going? Yeah, I don't know, man. I just got shoes made so I could suck myself off. How are you?
Yeah. So and then your feet do a lot of the work.
So
Sounds like a Maoist torture method.
It does sound like. Well, maybe with the bricks. That's what he was trying to do. Your back's against the wall. Your feet are being inched up slowly to the point where your knees break, but you can suck yourself off.
You know, they always say is like the problem with Arsenal. They always try and walk it in. The problem with Finn, he's always trying to walk in his cock.
Just trying to walk it. Just get it in
just
there.
Wank.
Just have a wank.
Why are you trying to? Why does it have to be a perfect wank? Why do you have to walk it into your own mouth?
7% of people said they successfully sucked their own dick.
Lies. And also, who's collecting this data?
Yeah, and also 7% of what people?
Okay, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation.
Listen, Australians are doing what they're going to do. That's why they have that haircut, to make them more aerodynamic, so they can get down.
So they can walk. It's easy to walk in it. That's why it's called Walkabout. You know the Australian chain of
Walkabout into my mouth. I like the idea that you trying to walk it in because then that also in that universe there must exist then a 30-yard screamer where you're standing completely straight and then and then you like blink and it's in your mouth somehow.
Yeah.
Gerrard! 2005 Cup final. What's the West Ham Cup final?
Yeah, in the 90th minute.
Yeah. So you've been trying for ages and it's not coming, and then you're just it's just like one frame you're stood completely upright, the next frame you're
because what you do is you trick your body and ribs into thinking you're not going to suck your dick.
Yes.
So they're all relaxed. There's no defense. And then you quickly do it.
So is the issue that you've got
sucking your own dick, is it possible or will everything go wrong? And will anything go wrong? Well, I feel that's a bit of an open-ended question. It depends how you try and suck your own dick, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's more mentally is that if you cross that Rubicon, I think your life is then ruined.
What? You think coming in your own mouth? You think the feeling of shame you have after coming, but now you've got your own jizz in your mouth.
Sucking your own dick and finishing in your own mouth are two different things.
All right.
If I'm pulling out for a woman, I'm not finishing in my own mouth. I'm tapping my own head and then I'm getting out of the way. I'm jizzing in my face. That's what I'm doing.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So anyway, what were we talking about? We're talking about
Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao had spent 10 years in a commune trying to suck his own dick, and it's called the Great Lurch Forward.
yeah. But they've got really strong in this compound, and they've come back. They've taken over, right?
Yeah, take that on around. Obviously, we know that. And he beats the communists, and then he is communist, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then he 49. He founds the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, which is still
to this day what it's called.
Even though it's not really that communist, there's kind of like an awkwardness now because it's all the aesthetics of communism, right?
And they China nowadays.
Yeah. But even though it's not really communist, it's sort of totalitarian, but it's pretty capitalist now.
Yeah, I don't really know what you'd call modern day
But
China.
then it's funny that they still invoke all of these myths about Mao. And I think it's not really talked about his crimes.
That he could suck himself off.
No one talks about it.
Yeah. That's why he's smiling in all the photos.
What, because he's...
he's just come in his own mouth. Are you saying you would come in your own mouth?
Right, yeah, let's get off Mao. No, I probably... If I was sucking myself off, no, I probably wouldn't, actually.
Yeah.
But then I feel like, what's the point?
What's the point in...
I guess my thing is, I don't know, if you get to the top of Everest, you want to take a picture up there, don't you? That would be my thing. It's more like I've reached a zenith. Or are you sort of more of a Miley Cyrus? It's not about how fast you get there.
It's the journey.
It's not about what's waiting on the other side.
No, I guess I'm thinking of that Greek guy, the old Greek guy who wanted to live as a man and then as a woman.
Right.
And you're kind of doing that in one...
What old Greek guy?
You know, there's a Greek myth or some guy. You should know this about the guy who... Like the trans origin story, who's like lived to whatever, then he's like, I'm going to do the other half as a woman, and see which is better.
Yeah. What do you say?
I don't know. It's not the point of my story.
Right.
My fact is that you're basically, if you're sucking yourself off, you are doing that in a sort of hunched up fetal ball. You are living that. And so are you saying you want to experience taking the load?
I'm saying if I've made
is that what a mental load is when we talk about that? Big nasty load in their mouth.
Yeah, I'm just like, you got to finish the job if you're already there. You're so nearly there.
Yeah.
And it's crazy not to finish the job.
Yeah. So finish the job, swallow it, stand up again, back to work.
Honey, mum comes in.
Oh,
now, what are you doing if your son...
if I walk in on my son trying to suck himself off.
You know, young boy now, but if he's 14, 15...
Yeah.
You come in, you know...
Definitely going to bleep the name. I'm not having... Definitely bleep the name. Anyway, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know how I'd... Charlie, but absolutely. Do not put porn on the screen, Charlie.
This has actually been a bit of a problem throughout, is that Charlie has...
We've only recorded about 4 episodes, but Charlie is constantly putting porn up.
This is a reputable history podcast, Charlie. And we're trying to cover a very tough period in human...
Do you think the producer of Parkinson's in the 80s would have us putting porn in front of Michael Parkinson? He was trying to talk to Muhammad Ali and there was some 70s full-bush porn being put in front of him.
He's done a lot of interviews, I'm sure, near the end.
Or he needs something to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, for him, he has to try keep acting like it's new and exciting for him.
Do you think it's like those TikToks with the Subway Surfer below, that he's watching hardcore 70s porn?
Yeah.
Just there, whilst...
Tom Cruise is there, yeah.
So tell me about Eyes Wide Shut. You know what? So Chairman Mao, back to Chairman Mao.
Yeah.
To recap, well, we won't recap last episode because the last half of it was fucking boring. Yeah. Who cares? Basically, this is where the goat starts to enter his peak years.
Yeah.
This is Hitler post 36.
This is Messi 2009.
Yeah. So Messi's
the beginning of his one of his first primes,
racking up Ballon d'Ors.
Yeah. Because the key thing about being a goat, right? It's not having a prime; it's having multiple primes.
Yes.
That's what really.
Sir Alex Ferguson's team that he could
rebuild. You can't just have like one period of prime. It's
no.
And this is him entering. Well, I guess his first prime was China Civil War, but this is him entering his real goat status era.
So he becomes Chairman Mao here.
Right. So yeah, it's an interesting one. The chairman, right? So he's. When you're choosing to become the most powerful person, I guess in communism it's an awkward question because it's the dictatorship of the proletariat, right? We're all together in this. We got rid of a king, but they chose to use chairman.
Yeah.
which is
Hitler's Führer.
Führer. Well, chairman is so clinical, right?
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of the point. Is it sort of like getting like getting northern guys in your banking adverts? Because it seems like...
When did he start shopping at Cos?
I would argue, he pioneered the
He's
Cos
the first
look.
Cos fuckboy.
So Cos actually owe a lot to Mao.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that's one of the main things about his aesthetic.
The Mao suit.
Is that now people in East London walk around looking like that.
Yeah. So, but in China, in East London, they choose to do that.
Yes.
Right? In China, you had two items of clothing.
You had a Cos summer range, which was one oversized blue shirt.
And then winter, which was an even more oversized blue shirt.
Which was a tiny coat that you couldn't fit into.
Yeah.
And I guess do you reckon the reason Cos doesn't fit is because it's all built for Chairman Mao's body? So it's all massive and then tiny wrists.
And also because of the famines, most people were very skinny. So
That's true, but they had sort of like bellies or whatever.
Yeah.
Water bellies? You know how people get water bellies when they're hungry?
Yeah.
When they're hungry, when they're starving.
I'll leave you on that one.
What?
I'll leave you on that.
Water bellies. Type in water.
Can we not look at swollen famine bellies, please?
No. It's water bellies. It's called like edema. It's where you get water retention because you're hungry.
Right.
You wanted to do this episode. That's what Cos clothes are made for famine victims. Yeah. Anyway, I've said my piece.
But then it's a very I guess if you're autistic, it's good to be in communist China for the period with the Mao suit. You don't have to pick any clothes in the day. You have a routine.
It's like Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuckerberg. He thinks better because he only has a black t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
So you can sort of come up with more business ideas and then get killed for having a business idea because it's communist China.
Of course.
So it is a little bit of a problem is that you're streamlined because you're not thinking about your clothes, but all of your ideas will get you killed.
Have so much time to risk death. So it's
pretty swaggy now though. I like the Chinese.
The modern
tunic
Chinese tunic suit is a style of male attire originally known in China. Here we go as the Zhongshan suit.
Yeah.
This is
four
famously
pockets are said to represent the four virtues of propriety, justice, honesty, and shame. Now, what you got in your shame pocket then, Finn? A pocket pussy?
Yeah, flashlights in the shame pocket. Pocket pussies in the shame pocket.
What you got in your justice? There's another pocket pussy in there.
Another one. Yeah, there's four pussies in my tunic. I've got a pussy in each one, and it's just about how I feel when I put my dick in it.
Are we going to have the propriety pussy? Are we going to have the honesty pussy?
No, I'll have the honesty pussy, which is when you do it in front of your wife. And then there's the shame one where she goes, "That's disgusting." You go, "Yeah, I know. I'm going to do it again." And you put the shame one on. So Chairman Mao is walking around in a tunic with four flashlights in it.
Yeah.
Because he is a horn dog.
He's an absolute horn dog, and he thinks it keeps him agile. He has no mates, is interesting.
Right, welcome back. So, sorry that we were cut off there. What happened is that there was a power cut in the studio, and it wasn't coming back on, so we went for lunch.
Yeah.
And then we came back from lunch, and it still wasn't on. And now it's 4 days later. I've had a haircut. I'm a new person.
Yeah.
And we watched back the first part of the episode to see where we were in the timeline. And it turns out we'd just been spending 50 minutes talking about sucking each other off.
Yeah, hadn't even broke the back of it
Sucking
at all.
ourselves off. Sorry. The next 15 minutes will be about us sucking each other off. So we hadn't even really got to the great leap forward.
Well, it was quite French, actually, this podcast now. Do 50 minutes of work, take a week off.
That's true. Yeah,
come back, different person.
Come back. Start talking about sucking each other off again.
But yeah, so we're completely different men. We've had life-changing experiences in a week, and now we're going to carry on the same episode as if it's the same one.
So you were saying Mao has no friends, which
as we finished talking about sucking ourselves off.
Yes, I think we probably covered that.
Okay, fine, we'll get on to Mao.
So Chairman Mao has no friends, which is not surprising given he walks around Beijing with four pocket pussies in his tunic.
Well, Mao's very paranoid. He has no mates.
It's a real school shooter dressing up, isn't it?
And he doesn't have a group of lads. He doesn't have the boys that he hangs out with.
Well, he's the alpha, isn't he? So I guess.
And it's quite lonely at the top. Would you say, Finn?
Yeah, I'd say. Well, are you saying that I'm the alpha? I've got friends.
Yeah. On top of the mountain,
top of the mountain,
trying to suck yourself off.
Me and Red Richardson. So Mao is president 1940.
Well, I guess what it's like is when you start coming up in comedy, if you start moving faster than some of your friends, it becomes actually harder to hang out sometimes because it's just and that's what Mao's going through, right?
Is this a moment of sincerity?
No, I'm just saying that Mao's gone through this, you know.
Mao's worked through the open mic circuit.
He's worked through the open mic circuit. He's starting getting booked at bigger clubs.
Yes.
And suddenly all the kind of, you know, invalids he was starting out with, who was his boys.
Yeah,
just
and,
kind of awkward.
and now they're his openers. And they're terrified of him. And they don't want to overrun.
Yeah.
So, Mao is president of People's Republic of China. He spent decades teaching himself how to suck himself off. He's got 4 pocket pussies in his tunic. Yeah. And here is where the real meat of his GOAT era begins.
Yes.
Land reform.
Yeah.
Now,
we all have different things.
As someone who is more of a commie-phile than me,
sure.
Could you explain what land reform means?
Well, they all do this. This is kind of the big idea from like Leninist communism, basically, is that you've got to collectivize all of the production of the country. And that nearly always, because communism's only been really tried in pretty much serf states in the case of Russia, or a peasant, almost feudal state in the case of Mao, it does mainly involve the collectivization of agricultural produce, right?
Yes.
Because in theory, this is all in theory. These are six guys sat in a seminar room deciding how to run a country with like nearly 1 billion people, right?
So the sort of Chinese people at this point, rural people, they don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and they always start in a very similar way, which you begin by, there's evil landlords who are normally farmers who have been running a farm for decades and they know how to use all the machinery. Yeah. Nearly always the first...
Caleb from Clarkson's farm.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And it's nearly always the first step is kill the people who know how to use the machinery.
Yeah, Caleb's gone.
And
Caleb's
then
dead.
find the poorest person in the neighbourhood who doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
He's the guy who's incomprehensible.
And you're like, now you're in charge.
Trevor's in charge of Clarkson's farm.
So you chop the heads off anyone who knows how to farm, and you give the farms to anyone who doesn't know how to farm.
So Clarkson's farm,
what could go wrong
without Caleb, is what this is. Which is a fucking shit show.
Yeah, but it happened in Zimbabwe. It happens. It's the same thing every time. Yeah.
So anyone who's got a farm that works. Yeah. Mao just says
that's bourgeois capitalistic.
That's wanky. I'm having that. Yeah. And then. The point of the land reform's not the great leap forward.
No, it's not yet. That's just the beginning.
Yes.
I guess it sort of seems part of it, but it's not. He hasn't stated the great leap forward yet.
No. So the land reform is he wants to industrialize China
as quickly as possible with skipping as many steps as he can, because China's very behind. He wants to reach the UK and the US within 15 years.
He's not a big foreplay guy.
No.
He's got 4 fleshlights in his tunic. This is a man who for every base is fourth base. Yeah. He's going all in.
But interestingly enough, Stalin did actually manage to for all his faults.
Here we go. Here we go.
Because it's interesting hearing about both Stalin and Mao. They both were destructive as each other, but Stalin did industrialize Russia.
Well, so did Mao.
Not really.
Well,
did it?
Well, but you look at China now.
Yeah, but it wasn't. That was after Mao.
Wasn't the other guy?
It was Deng Xiaoping.
Deng Xiaoping.
I think he was the guy who really industrialized it.
Listen, mate, we're doing a history podcast about Chinese history.
Go on.
You just got to stick with what you just say it. Deng Xiaoping.
Whatever. Well, it's just like it's a feeling.
Deng Xiaoping.
Deng Xiaoping.
There you go. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Say it with confidence. Say it with your chest out.
Say it with confidence. Never surrender. Never apologise.
Never ask for the proper pronunciation.
Never ask for. That's what a racist would do. We're historians, we're scholars, we're gentlemen, we're vibing it, and we'll get to the end and see what we say.
By the way, Mao is a very nice name to say. That's very easy to pronounce.
Mao.
It's the Mao. It's nice. Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao.
This is starting to feel a bit more racist now. This is Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao. It's a great name. I like Chairman Mao. Yeah. Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong, which is, of course means Mao brackets he him.
Yep,
that's what his name does.
Yeah. Then the Korean War starts. Yeah. Over this period, so this is early 50s, right? The Korean War. For a lot of people, we don't really know much about the Korean War, but it's actually really easy to break down.
Go on,
because it's quite like it's quite a satisfying story. It's like it's almost too symmetrical. Where if it was a film, you'd be like, I don't know, it just feels like it's too on the nose. So what happened is. China poured troops into North Korea. Yeah. United States poured troops into South Korea. Mm-hmm. And then they're fighting. North Korea pushed South Korea all the way back to like the bottom tip. Yeah. Then the United States put loads of troops and stuff.
And Brits as well.
Brits as well. Yeah. and then we pushed them all the way up to the borders of China,
right?
And then China put even more troops, and then we just meet in the middle. So it's literally, if there's a time lapse, it's just.
It's like those pens where you lift it over and the
it's
woman's
just
clothes
it's the
disappear.
neatest like.
And then they just divide it in two.
Yeah, and then they just agreed.
38th parallel.
And also they agreed to do it exactly halfway. It's like really weirdly neat.
Fair's fair.
Fair's fair.
But this is the.
It's like an arm wrestle where you got them like that, and then you got them like that, and then you're like, we'll just call it a draw.
This is the story where there's a British commander who is being massacred.
Yeah.
And this is one of the great examples of British versus American.
The subtle cultural differences.
He's calling basically, and what he needs is he needs American air support, and he needs it right away.
Yeah.
He is being absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah.
And he says to his American counterpart, "Yes, we're in a bit of a pickle here, but morale's high, but we're in a bit of a deep pickle." And the American goes, "Well, fucking, I guess he's all right then."
Yeah.
I don't know why he's talking about gherkins, but fucking whatever. And they just don't come.
Yeah.
And the British are just completely massacred, and everyone dies.
Yes, we're in a bit of a pickle here.
We could do with some help. Well, all right then.
Okay, they're chopping my legs off.
Anyway, so that's the Korean War, which I think we said in the last episode. It's been a week, I don't know. But Mao sends his own son just to get killed because he's basically just throwing people at guns till they run out of ammo. That's
because also part of the communist ideology as well is you sort of destroy not only the idea of the individual, but the idea of family doesn't really mean the same thing anymore.
No.
It's all about the state. You're a billion person family. Imagine that at Christmas.
Christ. I've got 2 kids, that's enough. A billion.
But they both communists, China and Russia, the communism there, it sort of works to undermine the relationships between parents and sons, brothers and stuff. It's not
because this where people
that's sort of like a private holding, isn't it? A family.
Yeah.
That's very bourgeois. The dad of a family is a landlord, isn't he?
I don't want what I say in my house broadcast out. Because I'm, you know,
that's very, bourgeois of you.
Well, see, it's interesting because I've been thinking about this because I read stories to my kids,
right,
and I read stories to my kids. But
you're just reading Mein Kampf.
I'm reading Mein Kampf to my child. Yeah. My struggle, chapter 1. They love it.
Yeah, of course they do.
I do it in the voice. No, I get to the point now where they like it when I put a voice on for a different character. But obviously the stories are very boring, and
what one's she reading? What kind of books?
There's one called the Enormous Turnip. About a bloke, an old man who grew an enormous turnip, and then he couldn't get it out of the ground, so he got a woman to come and help, and then they couldn't, so then he got a boy, and then they got a girl, then they got a goat, and they're all trying to pull and get the turnip out.
Right.
That's basically the story.
Who got the turnip out in the end?
I think once it got to a donkey, they all pulled really hard, and they all fell over, and the turnip came out, and they all ate the turnip.
What's the moral of the story? What's the moral lesson?
Teamwork, I think. Communism, land reform. That's the... Use the village to collectivise. That's collectivization. Really.
Yeah, right.
Mao's trying to grow one massive turnip.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that
basically get all the people on one turnip, and the rest can just die. And then there's 100,000 of you. You've all got one turnip between you.
Yeah, and then you kill each other for the turnip. It's Squid Game basically, but the prize is a turnip. No, but my point is that it's very boring. You're not really paying attention, and then suddenly you're aware that another character has come in, and my daughter looks at me expectantly for a new voice. And my voice, as you know, my voice repertoire is to most people sort of borderline offensive.
Sure.
So I do characters to my children. They don't know it's offensive.
Of course they don't. Well, you're constructing their moral worldview.
Exactly. I'm doing big African auntie voices.
They don't know there's other men out there.
Yeah. Hello. Do you want my help pulling out the enormous turnip? It's a bit of fun, right? Yeah. But what I'm saying is I would not want that to be broadcast publicly.
Sure.
I would not want the state to know about that because that's in the realms of my private house.
Yeah.
That's something I do with that's family matter.
Yeah.
My accents are a family matter, and they're for my children to unlearn when they get...
Whereas Mao doesn't want that relationship happening. It's too powerful.
Mao is listening in to my accents.
Yeah.
And he's... probably, I don't know, killing me.
Yeah.
Does he kill the thing?
But he's not a big. I don't think they have like a big network of listening in the same way the communist Russia
did.
The
amazing thing about Mao, which is he's manipulative.
Mao. Yeah,
he gets other people. He gets the people to kill themselves.
Yep.
I mean by suicide, and also to like kill each other.
Well, what it feels like is that Mao was a great military organizer and leader of the revolution. Like that's what he was really skilled at.
Yeah.
And now, it's like actually quite an extraordinary. This whole period where so many people died, kind of weirdly, it's an extraordinary period of peace. Like China's stopped fighting with Japan. They've consolidated communist against nationalism
because there's no food.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like there's no one they're fighting against. So if your only thing is fighting, you've got to stop punching yourself.
Right, I see what you mean.
As hard as possible.
Yeah.
They've beaten, the Japanese are gone, the nationalists are gone.
I mean, it's a bit like saying the Bengal famine was a great period of peace because the British weren't fighting.
Yeah.
We just left them to starve. We're building up to the Great Leap Forward, right? So collectivization's in the early 50s.
So collectivization is when you basically say, how about, even though this is a massive country, how about we get all the food to one place and we'll decide, we can measure out equally who gets what.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they have a 5-year plan. Now, 5-year plans
are a huge, big part of communism.
Yeah.
Soviet Russia as well. They love a 5-year plan.
And so they want.
It's a good way to organise it. I mean, we got a 5-year plan for this podcast.
I think if we make it through 5 episodes, we're doing well. So heavy industry. They want an economic Soviet-style economy.
Yeah.
Right.
He wants to go straight to steel.
It's
right?
like if you're playing Civ 3, you're going from hay, druids and hay, and you're going straight to the space race without hitting any of the
which you can't do.
You can't do.
You got to hit. Yeah.
That's even with a cheat code. You can't do. You have to play the game in order.
Yeah.
Mao's trying to do this in 15 years.
Yeah.
Right. He's trying to do 3 5-year plans back to back.
And he's got starving peasants who have no food trying to build massive factories of steel.
Yes.
And it's like let's get food first, steel second.
He's like, no, because then
that would be my motto.
So then it starts to get to what he calls the Great Leap Forward, which is in the late 50s,
right?
Because he basically declares that China can outpace Britain, which isn't difficult given that Britain at this point is completely fucked.
But I don't think does people know how fucked we are? Like we know,
yeah.
But I think Mao probably still thought we were.
Well, it's Chinese whispers, isn't it? He's got no idea what's going on.
Yeah, we're fucked, and he has no idea.
So 58, the Great Leap Forward is launched, and the goal is to transform China into an industrialized society through mobilizing all the peasants and the farmers.
And backyard furnaces for steel production. That's also something which is amazing. He's like, we need to build so much steel. We're not only going to do it in factories, right? Everyone needs to make steel in their own home. And people are like, what?
So
they're trying to make a furnace at the back, and now
I've been making rice for 2,000 years, and now you want me to go to steel.
Yeah. So
he establishes communes, and this is the bit I don't really understand. Basically, everyone then starts getting really angry at each other.
What don't you understand about that?
Well, I don't understand how he has this amazing power to start witch hunts in local communities.
Because, so he's, not only is he amazing at branding, right? Part of the kind of almost year zero effect that he's created, destroying Confucian ideas, going back on old China.
Yeah.
He is the founding myth, right? And now the only thing that people know is Mao, really.
Yeah.
He's creating it so
he basically unplugged China and plugged it back in again.
Yeah, and it's more like, it's got sort of like Stockholm syndrome,
right?
Where he's trying to destroy any other sort of reference points. Okay. It's now only about his heroics in the Chinese Civil War, that great long 3-year walk, right? The Duke of Edinburgh walk that he did.
To the camp where he sucked himself off, which we all do on Duke of Edinburgh.
But that's kind of all you have to go off. Yeah. So I don't know, he's just too powerful. How could a peasant farmer turn on Mao? You know?
Yeah.
But also I think the Western mind finds it hard to comprehend because it's just, I don't get it either.
It seems very silly.
It seems very silly.
It seems very stupid thing to do.
But can we just dwell on the Great Leap Forward? So before we go into it, the Great Leap Forward is probably the worst policy of all time.
Yes.
If you think about an actual policy, like Rachel Reeves is getting it in the neck at the moment.
Yeah.
But let's put it in some context of bad policies, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm up and down about what it is, but the Great Leap Forward is probably the single worst policy ever created by a person ever.
Is it worse than the Final Solution?
I guess, is that a political policy? I guess that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't campaign on it.
No.
He wasn't in this manifesto.
It wasn't on Ed Miliband's...
Headstone. Hitler's headstone. 6 million Jews.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really see... Because this is just done as like a domestic policy as opposed to sort of like...
he's outside number 10 in Beijing with a little red box.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, we're going to steal all the grain.
But he's also called it the final solution. There's a darkness to that, even in the naming of it.
Yeah.
There's me saying there's a darkness to the final solution. There's something that I find a bit creepy.
Is there something a bit odd about
But
that?
the Great Leap Forward, the Great Leap Forward is like calling it, those like chicken shops that are like perfect fried chicken.
Yeah.
It's like number one best policy ever.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's called this. He's called this number one, the best policy ever.
Yeah.
And it's the worst policy ever.
Yeah.
That's what I find fascinating about the Great Leap Forward, is it's actually the worst thing.
It's quite Turkish branding, isn't it? Yes, please, my friend. Very good. Very good.
It's this is
no food poisoning.
This is real leather. No, it's not. This is complete rubbish.
What are you talking about? It's cling film.
Number one best policy ever.
Cling film over some stuffing. It's leather. It's leather
Very
couch.
good. Very good quality. My cousin as well.
Price. Beautiful woman you have with you.
The Great Leap Forward sends them backwards fucking a million
This is,
steps.
this is branding. This is why Mao is not in the conversation with Hitler, because Hitler is its final solution. It's creepy. It's hacken, schlagen, flagen. Mao, smiling, fat, happy, fleshlights in his pockets. Great leap forward, always looking forward. And it's a famine. He basically manufactures a famine.
Also, Hitler got caught, knew he was caught, blew his brains out.
Yeah.
Mao died in his bed with like 15 of his concubines.
Wanking him off.
Wanking him off. He had no idea what was going on.
He's embalmed.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fleshlights are plastic, so they're still in the coffin.
So he didn't really have his comeuppance.
He didn't. There was no Nuremberg.
No, there was
Mao.
no trailing through it, and it didn't really affect the West in the same way. So people didn't really talk about it.
Yeah. So what happens is, so resources start to be misallocated. At some point, right, Mao basically realizes that the steel production isn't happening on its own, because these people are rice farmers.
They're making like furnaces out of like piles of mud.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to like, I don't know how
How
do you start making steel?
How do you make steel, Charlie?
If we had to make steel, this podcast.
Yeah. If I had to make steel in my garden, what am I doing?
Yeah, if Mao took over again,
I combine iron and carbon at high temperatures, and then that's molten steel, right?
So you're trying to find iron, and you're putting them in a handmade furnace.
Yeah,
right.
Which is like a bamboo rice steamer, basically. That's what they've got.
What, like with
the lid,
like a dim sum.
They've got a big pot, and they're putting molten iron in that, closing the lid, putting the pot, setting it on fire, and waiting for it to turn to whatever.
Using iron ore, scrap steel, combining it with flux material, and introducing oxygen to the mix. I think the last step, I'd like to be in control of that.
Yeah.
If you guys could do the other two, I'd like to be the guy who introduces oxygen to the mix. I'd like, can I have that job?
So Mao's doing this, right? Or the peasants are doing this, but it's not working, obviously.
And also, go.
So Mao then basically decides, I'm going to take all the grain that everyone's growing that I've decided I own. Mm-hmm. I'm going to send that to Russia, and I'm going to buy flat pack factories for making steel.
At an extortionate price as well.
Well, all the grain, all the country's food. I'll swap you the food that I don't need, but everyone I could charge of do.
He's like, I'm fat as shit. I need to cut down. He's like, I've just joined Weight Watchers.
Bit too much grain for me. Do you want some grain? I'd really help. Mao can't have grain in the house. Yeah.
Get away from me.
I can't get away from me. I can't have grain in the house.
He goes to cruise ship. He's like, just get away from me.
Please, take it away. Take it away. I know me. It'll be 10 o'clock. It'll be 10 o'clock at night. I'll be having a herbal tea.
50 million people died of starvation.
Yeah. Egg fried famine.
Yeah.
That's what this is, right? So Mao sends all the grain to Russia, because they need grain, because they're fucked as well. Yeah. Because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. They're not as fucked, though.
No, not as fucked. But then Russia sends them like flat pack factories, like IKEA factories that you can just assemble and start making steel.
Yeah, it's like factories. It's like a Hollywood film set factory. It's like like those fake Western towns where you knock it and it all falls over.
Yeah, it's like the set. Yeah. Yeah. So but then people are then too hungry to work in the factory because there's no grain, because that's how they got the factory. Yeah. So people then start killing each other.
Right. So also the way that this is officiated, the new kind of power structures, is there's cadres. Is it cadres? Cadres. They're the people who are like the commissars. They're the people who are in charge of collectivizing each local area. So it's all broken up into areas that are run by cadres, which are in Russia would be commissars, right?
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are trying to get the stats. Right?
Yes, yeah. So it's all about data.
It's all about data. Yeah. And Mao says you have to hit these production quotas.
Yeah.
He thinks no one's being able to do it, but he thinks if you just keep raising it, people will just rise to
On
that.
Mock the Week, you've got to have a black guy, you've got to have a woman,
Yeah.
you've got to have an Irish person.
There's a lot of
You've got to have quotas.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's diversity quotas?
Yeah, that's what
but
Mal's
it's just
doing.
for, like,
But it's for I want rye grain, I want wheat grain, I want grain of colour or whatever.
we've got mud.
We've got some muds, well, that'll do. So Mal's introduces quotas
But these
which
yeah.
no one can meet.
No.
Right?
And these cadres are using their power. So these guys are just using the power they've just been given, because they're just random guys, a lot of them.
They're like
So-
local councillors.
Yeah, so like all
Who are the worst people in the world?
It is literally local councillors, yeah.
It's Jobsworth train inspectors. Tickets, please. You're 30 minutes into off-peak. You've only got a single super off-peak ticket. It's those guys.
But the power these guys have is just insane now. It's middle managers have probably never been more powerful than this, because they control all the food, right? So they decide within their community who's getting food.
Yeah.
So if you piss a cadre off, he'll he'll starve you to death. It happened
Yeah.
all the time. If there was an attractive woman, he would say, "You're having sex with me, or else you're not getting half a loaf of bread." There's some horrifying
that sounds
stories.
great, to be honest. That sounds great. I mean, if you're one,
I try to have a moment
if
where
you're
we
one of
reflect
these-
on how
if
horrible
you're
this
one of
was,
these nerds-
and you cut it off by saying that sounds great.
you're one of these nerds,
Yeah.
right? And you finally. You spent all your life being a bullshit train inspector, and then suddenly you're given all the bread, and then all the fit women are queuing up to have sex with you.
Yeah, let's take the cadres aside.
Let's at least explore the history from all angles. But also, people start eating each other. This is the bit that interested me. Cannibalism becomes rife.
Yeah.
Particularly
Matt Rife.
Matt Rife.
Who's that?
Matt Rife starts eating people. Which is weird because his audience are expecting crowd work.
Well, they need a laugh.
Yeah, I know. But if
Because they're all, you know how like generally in kind of sort of more impoverished areas they're better gigs, right?
Yes, that is true.
Like if you're gigging up north, it's a better crowd than in Kent or Surrey.
Yes, because also they appreciate you coming the furthest.
Yeah, so I think when Matt Rife toured China during the late 50s, they were like loving it.
Yeah,
I can't believe he's here.
Because it was an hour and a half when they weren't eating each other. So,
all right, what's this?
Here you go.
So cadres often inflated agricultural production figures to please superiors. Yeah, I mean, I'd do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
So is it just writing it down? Then yeah.
loads of grain. Yeah, we've got loads this year. And by the way, when everyone's starving, the Mao and his boys, they're like, "Oh, it's the weather. It's shit weather.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's unlucky." They're just blaming it on the weather.
Yeah.
Right, that's their tactic.
They're blaming Zeus. Public humiliation and denunciation of individuals deemed right deviationists by cadres, creating a climate of fear and encouraging people to accuse others to protect themselves. So it is just I mean, when you're not you and you're hungry as well.
That's Mao's slogan for the Great Leap Forward. You're not you when you're hungry.
I mean, that would be an amazing Snickers advert.
Yeah. What? The Great Leap Forward?
Yeah.
What? As in the starving peasants, they're eating each other, and then Mr. T comes in and goes, "Stop. You're not you when you're hungry."
And then it had
And
those-
then, and then it just goes back to being
people died in the. What do you want us to read?
they ate their own children.
Well,
Okay, right,
surely
so
the
hang on.
context. Don't just highlight the end. Surely there's context.
Well, I guess the context is
People died in the family. They didn't bury the person because they could still collect their food rations. They kept the bodies in bed and covered them up, and the corpses were eaten by mice. So it would be like he would literally be like putting pillows in a bed, or like just no, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Or your granddad. Can I speak to him? No.
He's sleeping. He's very sleepy.
Why is there a mouse coming out of his eye socket?
He's got a pet mouse. What's your problem?
He's disabled. Why are you making fun of him?
Yeah.
Because he's got no eyes. People ate corpses and fought for the bodies. In Gansu, they killed outsides. People told me strangers passed through and they killed them and ate them. And they ate their own children. Terrible, too terrible. It's one of the worst things that's ever happened.
This is the inspiration for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, it is. It's the Bucket family.
It's the Bucket family. One of them gets a golden ticket.
And then they get to go to one of the flat pack
factories.
factories.
Yeah. And then Violet Bubblegum. I can't even say it. I don't even know their names.
Yeah.
So the point
Violet boiled pork.
Violet boiled pork and what's the Augustus group? Augustus gloopy fish eye soup. I mean, the other thing is that some Chinese food is this why they eat fucking everything?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you reckon because they have a famine like baked into their culture for like 10, 20 years, that now they're eating pig dicks, They're eating duck twats.
Yeah.
They're eating.
And Anton Deck
goose
isn't forcing
arses.
them to do it.
This isn't for the jungle. It's not. I'm a Chinese celebrity. Get me out of here. This is like high-end restaurants.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you want for a starter? Oh yeah, I'll have a pig stick soup.
I mean,
please.
that's a huge part of a lot of cuisines is famine culture, right? Anything, it's like, how the fuck did they come up with this? They had nothing.
They had nothing.
What, cricket soup? Yeah, that was all you had. But in Britain, I guess we haven't had that many famines, have we?
No, we've caused quite a few.
Oh, yeah? But that's probably why our food's so shitty.
Yes,
because we
that
weren't
is true.
experimenting.
No.
It was just
Potatoes and beef again. Yep. Got loads of that. We'll make shepherd's pie.
we're not looking out there. We don't know what robin tastes like.
You're right.
If there was a famine here, we would have
We'd be eating robins.
Of course we'd be eating robins.
Oh.
Squirrels. Of course we'd be eating squirrels.
Yeah.
Badgers? Are you kidding me?
I'd love to eat a badger.
Love a badger, actually. That'd be
Yeah.
nice. Badger
But
nose.
TB though, isn't it?
What's that? Oh, has it got lots of TB?
TB is in badgers,
Right.
which is why part of the reason why you can't eat it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure. I reckon.
Too badgery.
Because seagulls, I've always thought we should eat seagulls.
Definitely.
Because they're huge. Fucking, they should be a Christmas bird. They're massive.
Well, this is why we need to take...
But I researched this. I think they've got a lot of poison in them
Ah, that's woke
because
nonsense.
they eat rubbish.
I think that's just...
You're eating seagull, are you?
No, that's just liberal propaganda.
Do you think so? That's the.
There's a lot of... this is a very cautionary tale from the
Yeah.
Chinese about
Yeah.
ways not to run a society. But I do think the experimenting with different kinds of meats is something we could definitely learn from the Chinese.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
we're way too conservative with what we eat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to I'm always going for like tripe and shit on
Yeah.
menus. apparently it's.
Let's eat that. Who the fuck's that?
Yeah, let's
What's
eat
that?
Look at that beautiful. Yeah, let's eat that. Let's eat that. I can
The
eat that.
Chinese, bring a Chinese friend over here. He's got a pot when he sees a seagull. He's trying to put it in the pot.
Yeah, they're trying to catch seagulls. You will see him down Blackpool with a net trying to catch seagulls, put them in a pot. Chinese are always doing that. What was I going to say? We've got to talk about the sparrows because this is fucking
this
mental. And people don't know about this.
This is peak madness.
This is insane. You've driven a country insane when people are doing this, right?
All right, so I don't know what Mao's... So Mao's getting a lot of the information, even though there's a lot of detailed logging of what was happening. It's not all under the rug. Like, it might not have been shown to Mao, but there is, in detail, all of these stories are being documented. They know full well that this is happening.
Yeah.
Right? But obviously, even though anyone who questions Mao gets killed, there are grumblings starting to happen. The fact that...
Stomach rumblings. People are very hungry. But
Yeah.
everyone's around the table going...
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, what's that? And he goes, nothing.
So then he needs to come up with a reason why his policies are clearly not working.
Yes.
So he blames the sparrows for eating the
Grain.
The grain.
Yeah. So
Right?
sparrows eat grain. So Mao decides...
This is like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's like, I know.
He's in the bath. He goes,
yeah.
Eureka.
Let's fucking annihilate sparrows. So that becomes the next policy. And he gets people to mass murder sparrows. And how they do this is they play music under trees so that the sparrows can't go to sleep, so that they just drop out of the sky.
It's not just music. It's
White noise.
COVID key workers bashing your pots together.
Yeah.
Everyone's out.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, actually.
Yeah.
Everyone's at
On
6
a Thursday.
On a Thursday, everyone's going.
Clap for the NHS.
People are doing this so long. This is a way of killing sparrows. They're doing it for so long that the sparrows die from exhaustion because they have nowhere to land.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
Because sparrows need somewhere quiet to...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could kill a sparrow by banging a pot together so long.
If you just follow a sparrow around, banging a pot, it will die.
So they managed to kill all the sparrows.
They kill every sparrow in China.
Because it's
then-
like this huge campaign that every sparrow you see, it's fucking open
It's
season.
the enemy. Yeah. Yeah.
Because he can only really work with enemies, Mao.
Mm-hmm.
His whole thing, you're fighting something. That's the only... He can't be a peacetime leader. So now he's defeated all his enemies. Who are you going to do? The fucking sparrows.
He's such a cunt. He got all the way down to sparrows. This guy. He killed so many of his own people. He went, who's next? Sparrows. Those little birds.
Hitler died in a bunker.
Yeah.
Mao survived. He kept going though.
You live too long. You can live too long.
What? You live long enough to... You either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Do you know that Batman quote?
Yeah.
So you're saying about Hitler?
Hitler died a hero, and Mao lived long enough to kill sparrows. But what the hilarious thing is they kill every sparrow. They have a full-on sparrow holocaust. Every sparrow is dead.
Yep.
And then because the sparrows aren't there, all the bugs don't have an apex predator, and so the bugs just start eating.
The bugs are the problem. The sparrows really help.
The sparrows were controlling the bugs, it turns out.
The sparrows are one of the only things helping stop the famine, to be honest.
So now, there's now basically a fucking plague of locusts that is man-made. I mean, Mao is God, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's playing God.
But he's like an incompetent god, right?
Yeah, he's the worst god ever.
But it's not a god with his wrath, right? It's a god having ideas that don't work, right?
Yeah,
This isn't it's like an evil. This isn't Satan.
But there's nothing more dangerous than a stupid guy who thinks he's clever.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what's quite fascinating about this story.
Yeah.
Is like Hitler.
Clever guy.
No, but the final solution, he was killing all these people, but that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Yes, yeah. He was executing it too well.
Efficiently killing people, which is like, he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of interesting about Mao, is that's not what he wanted.
No.
He just completely fucked it.
He just fucked it. He wanted to build China as it is today. So the guy that comes after Mao goes, right, forget about all that.
Yeah.
Let's just open up and
now, do you know what happens with the sparrow thing after this? Because they realise that they need sparrows, they then also start sending food and paying the Soviet Union to bring sparrows back.
Oh my God.
So Soviet Union to send truckloads of sparrows back into China.
It's like Chelsea paying £50 million for Fernando Torres.
Yeah.
He's then shit. They sell him off and then they go, fuck, we need a striker.
Yeah.
So then they buy Fernando Torres back. For the 50 million again.
More,
20 million, 80 million, whatever. Have more money. We need someone.
Yeah, you sold Fernando Torres for 20 million, you just bought him back for 100 million.
Yeah. Mao's slogan, rending.
Go on. No, say it with your chest. No two goes at any of these. Yeah, no, first go.
I'm going to do it first go. Mao's slogan, rending Sheng Tian, meaning man must conquer nature, became the rallying cry for murdering sparrows.
Great. The Four Pests campaign is what it was called.
Eradicate pests and diseases and build happiness for 10,000 generations.
Can we get a poster up for the four? Because there's always great posters in the.
Well, this is the other thing: is that communist artwork is better
We'll get that here.
Communist artwork is better than any other.
It's the best
tyrannical artwork.
So yeah, Soviet stuff, North Korean stuff. It's the strong farmers, right? A lot of Soviet art, because actually, communism is very bad for art in general.
Yeah.
The one thing it's great for is kind of empowering propaganda. It's beautiful. Look at these, amazing.
So that's a sword going through a sparrow and a fly.
Yeah. Which that doesn't seem very positive.
And a mouse.
And a mouse.
I mean that.
It's a Four Pests campaign, so it's not just sparrows.
It's flies but that could.
So the woman who ate the is it the woman who ate the fly to eat the?
She ate a fly. She swallowed a fly. And then she ate a mouse to catch the fly.
Yeah.
Perhaps she'll die.
Yeah, so that's where he got the idea. He heard that.
He heard that.
He was like, well, we need to do that. We need to start eating.
Let's kill the fly. Okay, we'll get the mouse as well.
I mean, amazing. But what communism was terrible for was theatre.
Yeah. Right?
Awful theatre. Because you can't.
I'd say capitalism's not. I'd say theatre's just quite bad in general. I'd say it's just pretty boring.
Well, they push it to its zenith, I think, of boring theatre because you can't have any theatre that questions the current system. And to be honest, that's the only way you can have theatre. Theatre has to go, well, racism is bad, isn't it? Like it has to have that. It can't be like, well, everything's brilliant, right? That's not. You can't have a show like that.
What, where everything's brilliant? You
can't be like, oh well. You can't have a show saying Keir Starmer's doing a great job. Like that's not a play.
No, it's not a play. But it's difficult for me to do because I just think all plays are boring.
Yeah.
Because they're plays.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this about Kennedy. I don't think Kennedy was assassinated. I don't think Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. I think he got so bored watching a play that his head exploded. I think that's what happens. I think he was just like, and his head just popped because he was watching a play and it was the most boring thing that he'd ever seen.
That moment when you're watching a play and you go to the toilet and you're no longer in that feeling.
That is the best feeling you'll ever have as a man.
It's unbelievable. You're like...
You almost go to see the play to go and have a piss halfway through.
Well, it's reminding yourself that life can be a lot worse.
It's like it's like running, swimming in mud, then makes swimming easier.
Yeah.
It's going to a play makes normal life seem really interesting.
Well, yeah, that's why middle class people, it's like, I complain about so much, then you go to a play, well, at least I'm not watching a play.
At least I'm not watching a play anymore. I always think about that moment in Peep Show where they're watching the play and Jez goes, we could be watching Heat. I think about that every time we watch a play and it's not very often. I even went to watch the play because my dad's drum teacher loves plays, full on play. He's a play guy, right?
That's what's so funny. Is your dad? No one could love plays more than your dad.
No one loves plays more than my dad. My dad loves plays. He talks about plays. They live in Oxford. They commute to London 3 times a week. They're seeing plays, right? He's always talking about the plays just seen, and I'm like, fuck, I don't care. I think plays are boring. Anyway,
can't you just talk about football like normal
dads?
dads?
Can we talk about football? Anyway, I'm straight, and my dad's disappointed in me.
Yeah. He raised you gay,
and I've renounced him.
Yeah, because you're a riotous teen. You're rebelling against your upbringing.
Yeah, exactly. Mum, Dad, I'm
straight. You ripped off the denim cut-off booty shorts.
Yeah. When I turned 18.
I don't give a fuck. I'm straight, Dad.
I'm straight now. Anyway.
Under my roof.
Under my roof.
You
will watch plays with me. Anyway, West End girls. The Christmas, whenever it was, they bought us tickets to go and see the Gareth Southgate play.
Christ.
Because Dad's like, okay, maybe he'll like this. It's about football. But I tell you what, there's no, like, a play that's just boring, but it's a play, you're like, fine. A play that's trying to make people like plays.
Who would never like plays.
Even worse. Yeah. Because it's just football as a play. And it's like, guys, footballers are not the most articulate or literate people, and you're giving them fucking, you say, there's no way Harry Kane said that.
But it's also like, you have to wait a bit longer before you make a play about something. Yeah. You can't have, do they have Jesse Lingard in it?
Yeah, Jesse Lingard's in it.
You can't have a play with Jesse. You can do that in like 50 years. You could talk about Jesse Lingard. But Jesse Lingard's like 32. He's on Instagram now. You can't have you can't show him on stage.
But like, you can't even show football being played on stage. So that what happens is they play sound effects of the crowd, and then the actors mime kicking a ball, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? I could just be watching football. I could just watch football now. I'd rather watch old football than this new football play.
So what other football players were in that play? Raheem Sterling.
Sterling, Harry Kane.
Yeah. Was Eric Dyer in there?
Yeah, Eric Dyer's in there. Yeah.
Eric Dyer shouldn't be on.
Eric Dyer shouldn't be a character in a play.
No.
He's barely a character in real life. It's boring cunt as ever is.
Debuted at the National Theatre.
National Theatre. So when you're playing Eric Dyer, what are you? I'm an actor. I just played Eric Dyer at the National Theatre. That's the sign of a sick culture.
Danny Rose.
Danny Rose. What the fuck is going on? Do you know what? I've said this before. I think we need a Mao to culturally revolutionise this country. It's sick. There's a play where Eric Dyer is a character. Something's deeply wrong with this country. And people are going to see it in their droves.
As an actor played him? Yes. What are you doing? I'm playing Eric Dyer at the National Theatre. What is that, like a Shakespeare character? No, Eric
Dyer, the footballer for Tottenham Hotspur. What?
He's still playing. He's not even that good.
He's not interesting. He's really the least interesting footballer there is. He's just got a big head. He's a bad player. What's the story? Does he have some kind of struggle? No, he's on 100 grand a week somehow. Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so we're coming around to Mao.
My point is, capitalism doesn't exactly make great theatre either. So anyway, we should get to the
end.
So the consequences of the Great Leap Forward.
Not good.
It's a case of one leap forward, 2 leaps back, really, isn't it?
One great leap forward.
Because
5 great leaps back.
What is it? Estimated 15 to 45 million people died.
Those numbers. He's not fucking about.
No one's touching those numbers.
No.
Hitler's not touching that.
No.
Stalin's not touching. How many people die in World War II, Charlie? Across all theatres. Now that's a theatre. Theatre of war.
That's a theatre that you would mind.
Like. I'd go and watch a theatre of war.
Can we see the Pacific Theatre of World War II as opposed to Eric Dyer?
Can I see the North African Theatre? Okay, 50 million to 85 million, right?
Right, that's across the whole world.
Low estimate of World War II, number of deaths. Yep. Mao's done that in 5 years.
It's not even a war.
It's not a war. It's in peacetime.
It's not even a war.
He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
No one's touching him. And this isn't even...
No one's punched themselves in the head more times than Mao. It's just...
This isn't even his best bit. This isn't even Messi winning.
Who are we fighting?
This isn't even his crowning glory.
No.
That's still to come.
That's still to come.
We're still in the 50s.
Yeah.
Messi hasn't even won the World Cup yet.
You think Messi's gonna? That's his peak.
So you think that he's won the Champions League. The Champions League is the new World Cup. The World Cup's been devalued because the Champions League is the higher standard. Yeah. Fuck that. He's gonna win the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right. So we're gonna get onto that in the next episode. Somehow we've got a third episode on Mao. That'll be out on Sunday.
Yeah.
So to sum up, Mao did a big no-no, big poopy. Everyone starved to death.
Yeah. The worst named policy, the biggest kind of overstatement of a policy.
The biggest man-made disaster in history. Is still called the Great Leap Forward. I mean, how is that
change
not,
it?
Can we campaign as this podcast to change the name of the Great Leap Forward as the number one fuck up of all time?
What is also interesting is that in modern day China, they don't talk about it at all.
Really?
Like, imagine having that in your history, 55 million, because it's too awkward. Because the modern Communist Party, they still have Mao on the Forbidden City.
Yeah.
The founding myth of the authority of their power comes from Mao's struggle.
Yeah, in the Chinese Civil
War. So I think they eventually will talk about it.
So it's a bit like now, everyone having portraits of Liz Truss hanging.
Yeah.
And they were like, didn't she fuck the mortgage market? You're like, no.
Well, I guess it's sort of like having a gay experience with a close friend on a holiday and never talking about it again.
Right.
Like it.
But you've got it framed on your wall.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that up there? Is that you sucking off your best friend? Oh.
But the tension's there.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
But it's on your wall.
Yeah, but you always think about it and there's a trauma deeply embedded. But
and on 10 Downing Street, there is a massive portrait of you sucking off your friend.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. But we bow down to it.
What happens in Santi stays in Santi.
So anyway, there's a great Chinese famine that goes on to about 61. And
by great, it means bad. It doesn't mean,
again. Great leap forward, bad leap forward. Bad famine. Famines are bad. This podcast's anti-famine. Although it does result in some pretty wacky food at the other end of it.
Yeah. And we both love Asian food.
Love Asian food.
Love Asian food.
Do you know what? Great leap forward. I think it can keep its name.
Well, yeah, we seem to get a lot of the pros and none of the cons.
The great leap forward for Asian cuisine. That's what the great leap forward brackets for Asian cuisine.
Yeah, everyone was like Heston Blumenthal by the end of it.
Yeah, because that's all they had. They had we've got some guy's head. I've got my dad's head, and I've got a pig's dick. What am I going to do? It's like the most fucked up episode
Unicorn.
of Ready Steady Cook there's ever been. Hello, Linda. What have you brought? I've got my son's corpse. I've got my son's corpse in a bag, and Ainsley Harriot's like, "Ooh, what are we going to do with that?" Well, we've got some soy sauce and a bit of coal. Red peppers or green tomatoes, whatever the fuck it is. Start your clocks. Oh my God.
Christ.
Anyway,
Right.
The political repercussions of this we should end on this.
Yeah.
Eventually, it gets so bad that all Mao's boys are so hungry, they go, "Boss, you fucked this."
Wait, it's one guy, and it's a very brave man. It's, I think, Peng Di Huao.
No,
Peng Di Hao.
You've got it's Li Shaoqi.
Li Xiao, what's his name?
Li Shaoqi.
Li Xiaoqi, right.
Yeah.
So this guy,
Lu Shaoqi.
Lu Xiaoqi.
Yeah.
Right, Lu Xiaoqi.
Who's termed a pragmatist because he thinks people should eat food rather than their own children. You fucking centrist. You moderate.
He's like a
What do you
centrist
mean?
dad.
What do you mean eating it? Do you think maybe it's sensible just to eat food?
Cock. Pussy.
Traitor. What do you mean?
Yeah, he's a centrist.
What do you mean you don't want to eat porridge?
Right. So Li Xiaoxi is second in command, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. And he's loved within the party. He's a loyal servant, and also within the mythos of the Chinese Civil War, he's considered a hero. So he's not someone who Mao. He's one of the most powerful people that Mao can't just take out like that.
But also, it should be stressed as a side note, all the most powerful people under Mao, they're skinny as well.
Yeah.
Everyone is losing weight, but no one's talking about it.
Apart from Mao.
It's like a Zempic.
Yeah.
No one's talking about how everyone's skinny.
Yeah.
Right. But there's clearly something going on.
And
Mao's getting fatter.
And in 1961, he gets up and he basically broaches the topic.
And this is at a big conference.
Yeah. So this is a huge moment.
Yeah.
Broaches for the first time anyone's ever. It's just, I mean, it's kind of awkward where it's just like millions of people are dying, but no one's talking about it.
And Mao sat there and he basically calls him out and he's like, I reckon this is on you, big guy.
Yeah. And you know that shot, which is now going to be quite historic, of Donald Trump when Obama's roasting him at the correspondence dinner.
It's that, yeah.
Where he's just saying some sort of joke about how Trump will never be president. And then you get that sideways shot of his sort of silhouette just being...
And you almost want to set it to the Curb music. Yeah.
So Mao has that moment where he goes, not now.
Not now.
But soon.
And
you will be punished
And
for
it's
that.
a little precursor to this, to the next episode. It is the coldest revenge has ever been served. And it's extraordinary.
Yep.
Anyway, on that bombshell, we'll see you for part 3 of our Chairman Mao series. Again, that's already on the Patreon.
Yep.
You can sign up for £3 a month to become a truther.
Don't search the topic or
Don't
fact check
topic.
us.
That's not the point of this podcast. Thanks either way for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.